Hello, my lovely, most beautiful handcrafted hot fudge sundaes. How are you today? I am spectacular, and what you are seeing is what I will be making in this video. This video is a collaboration with the beautiful Miss Myriam from Myriam's Nature and the also beautiful Miss Sharon from Vivid Days. So please, after the video, be sure to check them out. The links for their videos will be below, as will product codes and all that jazz. I got to choose the theme this time, so I chose a textured butterfly wing, and you will see this piece come to life in the video you are about to view. At the end of the video, please stay till the end. This has a special meaning to me, and I want you all to hear it. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Okay, so I'm sure that a lot of you cannot vision this, but I can vision this. Now, this was a beautiful Dutch pour that I forgot to move, and it all ran off the canvas. So instead of throwing away or painting over it, I'm going to take the opportunity to exercise my brain and come up with a butterfly wing using this failed pour as almost a guideline. Maybe that's not the right words. I'm going to use this to create my design out of part of it anyway, because this is going to be multiple layers. So the first thing I have to do is take some white acrylic paint and cover some of the areas that I don't want so that you can see what I'm actually talking about. So I'm going to use just some Liquitex Basic for this. Just going to squeeze a little bit out into a cup. And you're looking at this the right way, so I'm going to turn it around, and it's going to be facing the wrong direction for you guys, but the right direction for me, so I can color the right parts. So I'm seeing a very wispy butterfly wing. And the first part I'm going to get rid of is going to be all of this. Now, if you use a paint and you feel like it's not thick enough, you can still see some of that painting through there. Just go with a heavier body paint, which I believe I'm going to do because you can see right through this. So let me find my heavy bodied white acrylic paint. Here's what I'm going to be using. Titanium white golden. I'm just gonna, instead of getting another cup, just put some on my brush. All right, now you see how much, what a difference that is. So I'm gonna white out all the areas that I do not want showing. Now this is going to have to be pretty pristine because I have to resin over this. So I may do a couple of layers even with this thicker paint, just to make sure it's nice and bright and white. Okay, so I'm going to continue to do that, and I will be back once I have my image the way I want it. Okay, so I blocked it out. I'm hoping you can see it now. So this is the upper half of the wing, half of the upper half, and then this is going to be the bottom half. So now what I want to do is I want to start adding in some different types of materials, and I will show you each of those. We're going to try to avoid a pound of cat fur. All right, so here are my thoughts. Down this line here, I'm going to be adding gemstones, or rhinestones, I should say. Then I have some gold glitter flakes, just for you online UK. They're beautiful gold glitter flakes that I'm going to be adding into different spots. And I'm going to do this on time lapse because it's boring work, really. And then what I'm thinking of doing is I have a little sea sponge here. And I'm thinking of adding in some paste and some netting. So I save the netting from everything that I get. I save it from fruit. I save it from wherever I can find it. I have some gauze here. Okay, I have some gauze. I have some actual fishnet from a shirt. Hey, I survived the 80s. What can I say? I have some cheesecloth. So I'm going to be incorporating some of that into this piece, along with maybe some metallic waxes. And of course, there's going to be resin. You already know that. And I also pulled out some Crackle Paste and some ceramic stucco by Liquitex. Now, I've never used this before, but I'm thinking it is just what it says it is. Let's open it up here. And it's just basically a texture paste. So I may use some of that. We shall see. And don't worry about the different colors of everything, because I'm going to, especially with the netting, probably be using some gesso to turn that white and then stain it with some either primary elements or some sprays, something. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm not going to work on this area. You'll see here that I still have a little bit of the paint showing through. I'm not going to cover it anymore because I may put something else there and I don't want to waste my time. But the first thing I want to do is work on the inner area so that my hand isn't getting, like if I put some paste over here, I'm going to have to try to avoid it while working over here so I don't lay my arm in it. So I'm going to work from this side out. So the first thing I'm going to do, I believe, will be the rhinestones and the glitter. So here we go. Now you're going to be seeing this upside down because I have to work on it. So here we go. Before I go further, I want to just show you a couple of things that you're going to see me working with, and I just want to mention what they are. So the first thing you'll see me working with will be the quick stick, and this is for rhinestones. It has a little bit of wax on the tip here. If I could get the tip off. And what it does is it just helps you pick up the rhinestones and place them, and then this end helps you flip the rhinestones over that are upside down, because we know that 90% of them are upside down, of course. I also have here some of these little brushes that I found at Hobby Lobby. They have like a silicone tip on them. So I may just use them to get the glitter and the gel medium in the areas where I need, smaller areas where I need it to be. And this I also found at Hobby Lobby, and it's just like a little texture thing. I'm sure they have purposes for other things that I'm not aware of, but I found them and thought that would make some cool texture. So, all right, here we go. Oh, by the way, I'm sorry. I'm laying the things that I'm gluing down. I'm using just a matte gel by Liquitex, but you can use regular glue also. All right, so you saw me put down the rhinestones. I did 1, 2, 3 areas. Now I'm going to do kind of the same thing with the glitter. I'm going to put it in a couple of areas. I'm going to start out with the quick stick to see if it's easy to lay it out like that, because this glitter is not like your typical glitter. It's like little diamond shapes. So I'm going to try to put it nice and neat in some areas. And you may see me switch over to just pouring it in. We'll see how it goes. But that's the next step now. Okay, so laying these down one at a time, big pain in the ass. Putting down some glue and sprinkling it, big pain in the ass. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take some of my matte gel and I'm going to make an actual glitter paste that I can spread with the palette knife, because it's going to make my life a lot easier. But the reason why I didn't want to do that is because this will take away some of the dullness, brightness of that glitter. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to sprinkle some fresh glitter on top of this paste as it's drying. Just so you don't have, dull glitter paste. So even though this is matte, it will, and it dries clear, it does take away a lot of the sparkle. Now, you could use super glossy heavy gel or a glossy heavy gel, but then sometimes I have problems with resin rejecting whatever makes it glossy. So some type of oil or something in it. So I'm just going to take this now and spread it in these areas that I'm working on. Fill that in, and then I will come back for the next step. All right, so now that I have my glitter down and it's drying, I want to start working on my pastes and my gauze that I'm going to be using. So first thing I want to do is take a little piece of gauze and cut it. And then what I'm going to do is, gauze flying through the air everywhere here, pull it apart. And then I'm going to figure out where I want to put it. I think I would like to have a piece maybe coming down through here. So I'm just going to trim it in half. Whoop. I'm trying to avoid those glitter areas blowing all over the place. And then maybe what I'll do is just with the matte gel, bunch it up a little bit just to have a little texture in there. I'm just trying to figure out where I want it. It's still a little bit too long. I'm trying to envisioning it right now. So I don't want to use too much. So what you want to do is just take some matte gel and start painting it down. I'm going to come in right here. Indy, stop it. Indiana over here digging at me for attention. I need a little bit bigger brush than that. So just glue it to your canvas. You're gonna, of course, have to let all of this dry before you can start spraying it. You could also use gesso to attach things like this. I'm just choosing this because it's here. Ready? Probably should have put some gel down first before I laid this down. But as you can see, it'll get there. You just gotta keep pushing it through the material. Some of this glitter is not attached. I just sprinkled it on top. So I have to be careful. All right, so I'm gonna add this on, finish adding this on, and then I'm going to figure out where I want to put my crackle paste and or my stucco paste. And this may look funny now, but this is all going to be dyed a different color. So it's just going to be adding the texture, which is the whole point of this collaboration, to use texture. Now you don't have to use so many textures that wasn't one of the rules. It was just use texture. I just choose to use all these different textures, that's all. Add a little flair. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm making the patterns of my butterfly wing with different materials. And then once you have it down good, like this, you can use the end of your paintbrush to kind of shape it however you want it. I'm pretty happy with this right here. So I'll probably just leave it alone. All right, so that's how we do that part. A lone piece of glitter here. All right, and then, so for my Crackle Paste, I'm thinking I want to do a nice thin line of it. Maybe coming down right in through here. So I'm going to take my Crackle Paste and let's see how this little thingamabob works. Just gonna put a nice little thin line of it. I'm not sure if this will even crack with it being so thin. These are not what these are meant for. In the Crackle Paste, you can also stain or color whatever color you want. I don't think I'm going to go all the way down. I'm just going to stop right there. So with Crackle Paste, the thicker you put it, the wider the cracks will be, and the thinner you lay it down, like right here. I'm going really thin. That should be tiny little cracks, just so you know. So I have it there, and then I wanted to put a big area in here. Or you know what, maybe, ha ha ha. Maybe I won't do that. Yeah, no, maybe I won't do that. All right, let me pause you so I can make up my mind. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some down here. I'm going to come back and clean that up. I'm going to do like a oval pattern up here of it. that crack up nice. I'm going to take my thumb kind of fix it there. And I'm going to fix the other one also. Alrighty. So we're going to let this dry and I will be back. Okay, guys, so everything dried nicely. As you can see, it cracked very nicely. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stipple on some primary elements. So what stippling is you take some paint and use a little, am I showing? There we are. Little stippling brush, and you pounce on some color. Now, I'm going to be mixing these with a product called Vivid Ultra Metallics Gloss Enamel. It's a multi-surface acrylic medium. This is also sold by Color Art. And this is when you're not pouring paint and you want to mix up these primary elements to do some art journaling or anything like that, where you just want a nice thick paint. So I'm working in my living room here because this is a tedious project and I don't want to be stuck in my room. So please bear with me. So you just want to put a little bit in the cup. We're going to try to keep cats out of the way here, even though she's walking around my tripod. This really, really brings out these colors, this gloss enamel. Oh, there goes the top, so we'll worry about that after. All right, so for the Crackle Paste areas, I'm going to use two colors. One is my favorite color of all time, and that is the Jasmine, also known as Wild Jasmine in the resin art line. So I'm going to put just a little bit of powder in the cup with the medium. Give it a mixeroo. And just like the resin art colors, these colors just melt into this stuff. And they're very, very, very vibrant. So that's the Jasmine. Then I'm going to use some Stargazer. Now, I don't know why I just poured 4 cups of that because I only needed 3. So here is the Stargazer. Don't need much. All right, and then the last one I'm going to do is the Interference Violet Pearl. And I want this color to blend with the other two, but also I want to stipple some on this background area. So it's going to be like a nice pearl with iridescent violet showing through. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to start with my jasmine, and I'm going to lightly pounce. Just all on top of that crackle paste. So we have some there, a little bit here. Don't want to add too much because I'm adding the other color also. Okay, then I'm going to come in with the Stargazer. This is just to give the butterfly wing a little pop of color. And you could rotate back and forth between colors. So after this dries, what I'm going to be doing is putting a full coat of resin over the entire thing. Okay? Because, as I said, this is going to be a multi-layer project, and I want to protect this bottom surface. Put a little bit too much there. So I have to go back in with the jasmine. This one I want to be careful. I'm going to get a brush to go around the edge of that. So I'm going to keep doing this until I'm satisfied with how it looks, which it's pretty close. All right, so I'm going to finish this. I'm going to use the violet, the interference violet, just on the background here. And you know what? I may add a little bit on here too. And then when I'm done with that, I'll show you guys a close-up of what it looks like. All right, guys, so I went and I stippled on everything that I wanted to. Over here, I'm having a hard time with this one area, although I painted it a couple of times with white acrylic paint. That color is still coming through, and I've decided that I want to stipple on a little bit of the Stargazer just to lightly, and I mean lightly, blend it in, okay? Just to make it look like it's supposed to be like that. So I'm just dabbing on a little tiny bit here. And then what I'm going to do is come in with my sponge. And I'm just going to blend it in a little bit. So that I kind of get that effect all over the place. Okay, so I'm going to keep working on that until I get it the way I like it, and then I will be back. Okay, so I have it all worked in there, and I'm going to hopefully show you the iridescent here. All right, so now the next step for me is going to be to protect this layer with some resin. So I have to replace the rhinestone that fell off over here and get my glitter in here back to where it belongs. And I think I'm going to draw a couple of lines with marker, but you don't need to watch me do that. I'm just going to be using my Posca markers and just maybe draw a couple of simple, elegant looking lines. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to get the tape around the border of this because I need to encase this with resin. So I'm going to show you how to do that in the next step. So I need to cover this entire thing in resin and make sure that I finish with a flat surface so that I could build the second layer of my wing. So what I did was I just taped around the edge, and I have the tape overlapping a little bit here, and I'm just going to fill this up with resin, probably 1/8 of an inch thick, just to make sure that the glitter's covered over, everything's covered over. And I'm going to have some, when I start working on that second wing, it's going to look like this is way in the background. So I'm not going to bore you with just pouring some clear resin in there, but I'm going to do that and let it cure for 24 hours and then remove the tape. Yes, there will be a lip on my painting from the tape being there, so I will have to sand and round the sides and the corners so that the final layer of resin can flow over nicely, coat the top and the sides, and it will all blend in. Okay? Alrighty, my friends, plans have changed a little bit here. So I was going to use graphite paper to trace this image of this wing onto my cured resin surface here, but I found because some of the texture is still sticking up through the resin, it's not deep enough yet, that it wasn't transferring right. So what I've done is I've taped down this picture I got from a coloring book because I am the worst drawer in the world. I just cannot draw. So I taped down this picture of a butterfly wing, and I have this little pointy, I think it's an owl. I think that's what it's called. And what I'm doing is I'm literally going along, I went along the outside, I'm doing little dots just along where I need to draw these lines so that when I remove this, I'll have a little dot pattern in the resin surface. It is going through, you won't be able to see it, but it's not going all the way through, but it's making a little tiny dent in the resin so that I'm going to be able to take this off, use a white marker, and outline the whole thing. This way I don't have to draw. So I'm just finishing up with it. I'm just putting a little bit of pressure, and it's just making a little tiny ding in the surface that you're not going to see afterwards. This thing's going to have so much resin on it, you'll never see it. Not to mention where these dots are, I'm thinking about placing rhinestones on the surface, so you definitely won't be seeing them. Right, so I did the whole thing. I'm going to remove this. I'm going to see if I can show it to you, just so you can see what I'm talking about. And let's see if I can catch it, which I don't think you'll be able to see it. It's so light. This is the one time we need the window. There you go. You can see the little dots right up in here. So yeah, I'm going to take my marker now and trace it. So I'm just going to use a Posca marker, Posca paint pen. And I have the bright white light off because I need the light from the window to shine through so that I can see where to draw here. So I'm just going to look at the picture. I don't want to make a mistake. So it's going to come this way. And I'm not going to do all of this on camera because I really need to concentrate. And this is just going to be a rough sketch. Oh, I screwed up already. Just a rough sketch. To help guide me with my resin for the second layer. It doesn't need to be perfect. Okay, so I'm just going to continue drawing that on there. And then when I'm done, we'll continue with the next step. All right, so I drew in my outline of my next part. You can see it there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill this in with some really heavy body titanium white paint, just because I want to make sure I block out that background. If I just put resin down on top of that, I'm afraid that, you know, it may move, you may see behind it. I don't know. I like to block it out with some acrylic paint. Plus, I'm toying with the idea of maybe using primary elements to paint this wing. So I'm just going to go through, and I don't even know why I drew those center guidelines there, because I'm going to paint over them anyway. So I may use acrylic paint to decorate these wings. So I would definitely need to have a nice thick, not thick, but a nice white surface to work on, so I'm not so distracted by the gemstones underneath. And yes, I realize that I used those rhinestones and you're not even going to see them. But when I was originally creating this, I was going with a different idea, and I changed my mind, as I so often do. It's just things come to you while you're doing this, and you say, oh, that might work better. So it's all learning in the end. And in all fairness to myself, I didn't know how long this wing would be and how many of these I would have to use. So I put them down. Why not? It took me all of 5 minutes. And another good thing is I'm covering up this part here that I don't like. So we get rid of that. We get rid of all of this. So now what I'm going to do, my friends, is I'm going to finish this up, and then I'm going to put the video on time lapse, and you can watch me fill this wing in with whatever I choose. I think I'm really going towards primary elements because I have some really beautiful color choices there to use. Plus I can put resin over it if I want to. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. And this here, how you see how it's all bumpy, that's because that glitter is still sticking through. But in the end, it's going to add some texture to that wing, and it will be thoroughly submerged under the resin by the time I'm done. All right, so I'm going to finish this. You can watch me decorate it on time lapse. Before I start this next part, I want to just show you a happy little accident now, because I know you can see that texture still poking through. That I'm going to use to my advantage, and you'll see how after. But first, I'm going to paint this wing, hand paint it. And how I'm going to do that, I just wanted to show you the colors before I put the video on time lapse. I'm using 3 primary element colors for now, and I'm mixing them with the Vivid Ultra Metallics Multi-Surface Gloss Enamel, okay? Now, I could have used the Polypore to mix these colors and brush paint, but I wanted a little thicker body, which this is a little bit thicker. So, I'm going to use these colors now and paint in that wing. So, I just want to show you what cranberry looks like, if we can see it. It's a nice, like, Merlot. Love that color. And then this is jasmine. You saw it earlier in the video. And I just brushed up a little, mixed up a little bit, because I don't need much. And you can see how thicker the consistency is. And then this one was the Stargazer. You also saw that before. All right, so here we go. Alright, so as you saw, I just took my colors and kept just with a paintbrush making a feathering motion. So just sweep, sweep, sweep with the color. I started with the darkest and worked my way down to the lightest, and then worked with the lightest up into the darkest. So I used the cranberry, as you saw, the jasmine, then the Stargazer, and then Stargazer, jasmine, blending them into each other. And then what I did, which I did not show you, was I decided to mix up one more color, and it's called Wine and Roses. That's the darkest one that you see there, and this is it here. Very dark rose color. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start embellishing this. Now, this bigger wing in the back, the mother butterfly, which I haven't told you the story of this yet, I will at the end. The mother butterfly in the back has the rhinestones going up through her tail. So I'm going to, right where it should split the wing, I'm going to put a row there, and I'm going to actually just put them around the entire outside. But for the baby butterfly, I'm going to use smaller rhinestones So it's going to be a little more tedious. I'm going to do a little bit on time lapse. I'm not going to bore you with the whole thing because you already saw me putting them down here. And then what I'm going to do is work with some more glitter up here. And yeah, you'll see it all unfold. But I'm hoping that you're starting to see the image. This is the mommy in the back. The baby's wing here. I'll tell you the story at the end, okay? Okay, so this is all ready to be worked on again. The rhinestones are all attached. And this is dry, and you can see I have some texture in it from the underneath layer, which, as I told you earlier, I'm going to use to my advantage. So now what I need to do is I need to incorporate some of the traits that the mother butterfly wing has into the baby butterfly wing. So I want to add in a little bit of the glitter. I want to add in a little bit of the gauze, and probably just a few little gold lines, maybe. So, and it's not going to be much, just a little tiny bit, because it is a much smaller wing than the other one. So, just maybe a little piece of the gauze. Right through here. And I'll just glue that down a little bit. Maybe another little bit right in here. All right, so I'm going to glue that down, and then I'm going to put some glitter in. Just got to position it where you think it looks best. So right on top of that, I'm going to just pounce some of the matte gel on top of it. Now the matte gel is water-based, and so are these primary elements. The gloss enamel that I used to mix them is water, it has water, so it may reactivate it here because I did not seal it with anything. All right, so I'm just going to continue making a mess here and gluing this down. Maybe it'll be easier just to put some down first, Tammy. You gotta kind of just toy with it. It'll get there eventually. Okay. Just a wee bit. And of course I have to let this dry before I get the resin out. So we'll give that a chance to dry. All right, just a little bit, just like that. Doesn't need to be anything crazy. And you know what I'll do too? With the glitter that I'm going to do? I'm going to just do a nice area of the matte gel and glue it down. This way, I don't have to worry about it floating off with the resin if I try to put it down with resin. So I think I'll have it come down into a nice little V shape, just like so. Okay. Now this one I will try to place flat, like one layer. I don't want a ton of it sticking up because there's already some sticking up. So I'm just going to pour some on my table here and kind of very carefully lay it down. Just a nice thin coat of it, but thick enough to where you don't see that underneath. Okay, so I'm going to finish this up. I'll come back and I'll put in my gold lines and then we will get the resin out. Alrighty. Here we go. So I've mixed up approximately 5 ounces of resin. And I have to probably babysit this area because this glitter on top is not attached really. So I think what I'm going to do is going to pour this resin on up to the sides of that area. Just kind of outline it. And then I'll just, hopefully it'll just seep underneath it. But if it starts to move, I'll have to keep coming back with the popsicle stick and continue to push it back into its place. Show it who's boss. These primary element colors come alive when that resin gets on top. And as most of you know, it's very hard to see the true beauty of colors through a camera. Now also, I don't have the sides taped this time, and that is because I just want to give it a nice coat down the sides, all along the top here. And once that cures, I will put it away. And if I decide to sell it, which I don't know if I will do a final coat and then everything will be submerged underneath the resin. But for now, I'm just trying to give it a nice top coat here and cover up those new rhinestones I put down the best that I can with what I have. So the next thing you will be seeing is the up-close view of it done. And the meaning behind this special piece. Not only is it special because, again, I am doing a collaboration with 2 women that I admire so much, but because I got to pick the challenge this time, and there's a story behind these two wings that you will soon find out about during the up close shots. So I'm just pushing it out here to the edges, and then once I'm sure I have it all on the top, I'm going to go around the edge with my hand. Let the light, the natural daylight, if you have it near you, be your best friend. Just kind of like bend down to the side. It'll show you if you missed any spots. It will show you any hair or particles in your pour. It really does help a lot. So I have a little bit of resin here, and I'm going to be so bold as to put a little bit on there, even though I said I wasn't going to. I'm hoping just a couple of little dots will help attract the other resin. See, resin will only go where it's been, so, or that it is. So if you have a big bald spot here and you put some resin down, it will flow easier into that area if there's something to attract it. It almost works like that. I'm not finding my words right now to explain it correctly, but it will flow easier if it has something to touch and pull along with it. So now I'm just going to take the rest that I have here and go along the sides with it. Let it flow over nice and slowly. I'm going to take my hand, help it along. And then you can also feel if you've covered your sides that way. Now my sides, I didn't do anything special to them. Whatever flowed over the edges when I was doing the painting and when most of it fell off is what's there, and it has a nice organic look. It doesn't look sloppy at all. And once this is dry, I will show you that also. Alrighty, I think we're done. So I'm gonna let it cure and stay tuned. By the way, that was StoneCoat resin, the CounterTop resin that I'm using, not the Artcoat, the CounterTop. I would love to get the Artcoat, but I can't afford it, so I get the CounterTop, which is just a little bit cheaper, but every little penny helps. So it works fine for me. I like it, and I have plenty of working time with it. The heat resistance, if it's a little bit lower than the Artcoat, really doesn't matter because I'm not putting anything hot on top of my painting. I know people like to use the Artcoat for functional art like trays and coasters and stuff where you're going to be having hot things touching it. But as for a painting, I'm perfectly fine with this one. And I do have a code, as I said, $10 off. It is in the box below, along with codes for just about everything. Just about. codes and links to get you where you need everywhere except a money tree, of course. So I will see you in the next scene. Okay, so it is all done. Now while I'm going over this, I'm going to explain the name of my painting, which is called The Great Protector. And this painting is dedicated to my mom, who passed away suddenly in 2010. She had a heart attack in her sleep. It was totally unexpected. And the reason why I decided to make that little baby butterfly wing on it is because going through life, I had a very up and down relationship with my mom, as daughters often do. Even my own kids, my daughters sometimes can be a handful. My son is the biggest love, but you know, my daughters can give me a run for my money, let's put it that way. But you know something, no matter what, I would always be there for them. And even though my mom and I had a very tough relationship, especially when I was younger. When I got older, it calmed down. You know, you're young, you think you know everything, and you don't. And even though I gave her hell, I'll tell you what, she would drop everything to come to help me. So that big wing in the back is my mom protecting my little wing. And it's just a way for me to remember her, that she is always around. And even though I don't get to see her anymore, I know she's here. And it's just, like I said, a reminder to me to think of her and to not get so upset and uptight with my own daughters, and just enjoy every day that I have on this earth. We are not guaranteed tomorrow, so you have to live for today and enjoy every second of it, people, because you just never know. So, with all of that being said, that is the end of my collaboration video. I hope you guys go over and check out Myriam's Nature and Sharon Lindley of Vivid Days, because I just know that they're going to come up with something fantastic. And if you haven't already, would you please subscribe? Make sure you check their videos out. Click that thumbs up button, or in my case, the like button, and show them some love. We all work hard on this, and I'm sure that we're all going to have totally different pieces, because that's just how we roll. So, I want to thank you all for watching, and happy pouring.